What's up, ladies, thoughts, thugs, and gentlemen? We are back again with another Dreaming Memories Explained video. I'm your host, A1, and let me welcome you back. And today's episode is, of course, like in the title, it's part 2. And I liked it. I like this one. I really like this one. We get to see a lot of what the characters do in this episode. So what I want to do is explain the gist of what's going on, the subtitles or subliminal messages that we get during this episode, because there's a lot of things that you got to pick up on where you got to simply read between the lines. Through other actions and conversations, you can kind of make assumptions about other things, and you'll see what I mean as the episode goes on. But other than that, make sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Let them know if you like what you see. Share it with your friends. If you don't like what you see, put that comment in the bottom. Let me know what you didn't like and what you did like. Maybe we can, hook you up. So, I want to start off by saying, in this episode, the first thing that happens is that we start off in a future event. And what I mean is that we see Icon come into the royal hall, and he's holding Sanaya, and she's unconscious. And he goes over to her mother, and he tells her, "I'm sorry." Genova takes his mother and tells her it's best that he explain what's going on. And during this conversation, when the two of them leave, he remarks about someone named Cain. He tells his mom he right about Cain. They were tricked, and right off the bat, as a reader, we're wondering, all right, well, what happened to Sinai? Why is Icon holding her, and who is Cain? And this jumps back to the next day, the day after the first episode, where Genova is sitting in on the morning report, and he's overhearing things, and eventually something catches his attention when one of the topics talks about a man named Cain, and apparently he's wiping out the whole Salem tribe. Why he's doing this, no one in Wheaton knows, but he's effectively wiping out the whole tribe with little resistance. And as everybody's taking this all in, Genova finally perks up to think about, because he has a moral compass to tell him something like that is wrong. And we often do that when we're in a situation where we hear one side of a story. We often, react off the information we hear. So when he hears what's going on, and he hears that Cain is wiping out the Salem tribe, he starts to get mad because he overhears that they're not doing anything about it until they have more information. But the way he looks at it is like, you know what, why do we need to do that? We're superpower, we're who we are. Why can't we do something about someone, wreaking havoc? And the mom basically tells him, we do what we want, but that's outside the walls, and outside the walls, you need a little bit more information before you go in. I kind of agrees with his mom, which pisses Genova off because, he wants to do the right thing. So later on that day, when he's training with Nikki, we get to find out that he's really bothered by the situation where he overheard during the morning meeting. And during this, I want to highlight some things. Now, over and over in the story, we're going to see this about Genova, that he deeply feels as though it's his job, because he has the power he has to protect those within himself. Like when the Queen says that we're not intervening until we have more information, one of the things he says, we can't just sit around and wait for people to die. It's our duty to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Another thing I wanted to point out that we find out is that Wheaton is on an island, and they are closed off from the rest of the world. And on that island, there are different tribes in different places. New Eden is just its own kingdom. And the Salem tribe, lived on that island. And apparently it is not a common thing for people to have the type of power to wipe out a whole tribe. That's just not something people can do. And you find out this dude Cain killed women, children. He did not discriminate. When he went in, he killed everybody. And for whatever reason he did it, somehow he has the means to do so. And this is the part that is kind of an issue with Genova, because up to this point we find out that people in New Eden, like him, his brother, people from the royal family, and a few others have these type of abilities, but it's not something that's just, running all over the island. It's not like, everybody has a secret ability in this world. For the most part, everybody is normal, and New Eden exists for a place where these people can live without, interference with the human race, or interfering with them. The very little people that live on this island all just stay there. This is like a closed inhabited thing. They don't really deal with the outside world. But moving along, once we're in the training session, the reason I wanted to take some time here is because we noticed a few things. Apparently, Nikki is the strongest woman in the world, and she's the only person who can spar with Prince. We immediately believe that he also has super strength as well. But he does something during the training session which Nikki says is cheating, which she says you transform, you're cheating. And he says, "Oh, I'm sorry, he needs to go off some steam and stuff about this earlier." And this leads me to believe that in his base state, yeah, him and Nikki can spar with each other, but if he transforms, he can't, which that would mean that if Nikki's the strongest one in the world, then Frank's got another trick up his street that we need to pay attention to. So moving forward, we get to find out that Sanai had planned this late night campfire picnic on top of this mountain that they all like to chill at, and that's what they're going to do so that, all of them can blow off steam. So later on that night, they all go up there, they're having a good time, they're chilling, and eventually, while everybody's talking, Genova moves over to the cliffside and he's staring at something, and this catches Namaya's attention. What they didn't know is that Genova had done some research and found out where the survivors of Salem would be at, and from the cliffside, because he has supervision, something else we find out about him, he should be able to keep an eye out for him just in case anything happened to them while they were trying to escape. When Namaya walks over to him and she asks him what's wrong, he tries to tell her it's something he needs to handle on his own. And Namaya being Namaya, she guesses that it has something to do with the forest. And as the two of them start to conversate, Namaya picked up, he's looking out for something. Like, she basically can tell that he's looking and trying to see something, and she knows about his super sight. So he explained the situation about the morning meeting, that, and this is something that he shouldn't have done, because apparently anything that's said during the meetings you're not supposed to repeat. So he figures out a way basically around it, and when they're talking about it, Sanai overhears them, and this is a problem, because if he would have just told Namaya, she probably would have been able to reason and understand, this is how things work, we can't do certain things, she's also training to be in the, the Queen's hand. But Sanai, her sister, however, she overhears it and she goes crazy, because she hears about the women, the children, the survivors, and what might happen to them if they don't make it to safety. So she runs over and tells the rest of the group. And at this time, when she's telling the group, previously Icon had left to go get some snacks, and when he returns, he sees that the whole group is discussing what was said in the morning meeting. This pisses him off, and he tells Genova they're going to talk about it later. But then Sanai goes over to him, and we find out that Icon and Sanai are like best friends. Like, they care deeply for each other. They're not a couple, but they're very, very close. So she's able to talk to him and tell him, like, they need to help these people. This is something they have to. We can't just sit by and let these people die, especially if this guy named Kane is actively hunting them down. We might be able to get them to safety without any problems. And Icon gets what they're hitting at, and he tells them he'll help them, but they need to come up with a plan. He'll give them portals that will take them where they need to go, but that's as far as he's going to interfere, because he doesn't want to get in trouble, especially for disobeying royal orders. So they come up with a plan that basically is going to work out very smoothly if pulled off correctly. Genova will fly over and encounter Kane's group, because now he knows where they are. He's basically going to distract them while Namaya and Nikki and Sanai intercept the survivors and help them get to safety. When they get to the survivors, they're basically going to have them run through Icon's portal, which will leave them in New Eden, and if they're in New Eden, then they should be safe. So with this plan in motion, it leads me to think about a few things. One, so far we know that Namaya is a mystic. She can do magic and any type of witchcraft. We know that Genova has a few powers, but the fact that they're sending him to encounter this whole like army and group from King by itself leads me to believe that they have a lot of faith in his abilities and he must be very, very powerful. So when he gets there, we start to get a little bit of Genova's characters. Like, first he shows up in front through the portal in front of King's group saying, "Hey guys, I'm late to the party." He looks around and says, "Wow, there's a big turnout. I see about like 200 men." So this also lets us know that King group is pretty big. If this is his whole group, he's 200 men strong. And if this isn't his whole group, then he has a really large army. So one of the men stepped up and said, "Look, I don't know who you are, but if you don't get out of here, you basically gonna be 6 feet under." So Genova calmly raises his hand, tells him, "Sorry, you can't do that," and that's not really gonna work for him. And bad things are gonna happen if things don't go the way he's about to tell them they're gonna go. So the whole group, they laughing, and one of the guys walks up and put a sword to his neck and says, "Enough. You even will move back or you will be moved." And at this point, Genova gets dead serious and crosses his arms and starts staring at him. And he says, "That's my line." And this is funny because, with 200 men in front of him with a sword to his neck, and Genova calmly looks him in his eyes and he tells him, "This is a warning for the rest of you." And in the blink of an eye, he punches the dude. The dude gets hit so hard, he flies back and past the other dudes that he was standing with. So basically, he was able to punch this man one time with little to no effort and knock him a distance passing 200 men, which shocks, of course, everybody, because now they're looking like, what the. So they all start to try to attack him. But one guy with a giant mace, he's the first to step up, and he says, "You must be one of those witches." And we get to find out that, witches in this world is like a term for the B word. So he says witch at first, thinking that he's referring to mystics or something. And he says, "Hey, what did you call me?" Like I said, in this world, that's another meaning. And he says, "I'm no witch, but it's basically about to go down now because, now they're swinging on him." And Genova's still casually just moving through these, and the dude is shocked, just like the boy in the alley. Like, yo, how is he moving so fast? He's moving from one point to another in the blink of an eye. But he tells him that he's going to show him something much worse if he doesn't leave these people alone. And at this point, we get to see his little catchphrase. He tells him that they got to the count of 5, and if they're still standing there when he gets to 5, they gonna die. That's basically, he's gonna count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and whoever's still in front of him is good night. You won't get a free pass to your ancestors. So the one guy asks us, "What should we do?" And then the one guy gets cocky. He's still laughing. He's like, "You know what? Look, we gonna kill him. It's 200 of us. Let's do this." And right before things pop off, they hear a loud bang, and Genova looks back because he's like, what's that? And actually looking up, he's over there, and that's catching his attention. He's not even paying the guys no mind no more. And now the guys are getting pissed off because they're like, you just started all the smoke, and now you gonna act like we ain't even here. And the guy tells him, "Oh, I see why you're here, and if it's for those guys from Salem, you're too late. They're already dead." And Genova looks back and says, "It's not them you should be worried about." Because now he's a little ticked. He's ticked off. He's seriously ticked off. And right here at this point, we switch over to our group of Namaya, Nikki, and Sanai, and they're coming through one of Icon's portal, and they meet the survivors of Salem. And when the people see them come through the portal, they get a little spooked because somebody just walked through a portal. And so, they try to get them to calm down, telling them no, we're here to help, we're not with Kane. And as they're doing that, what they get surprised because another group from Cain starts ambushing them. And as this is happening, we get our first look at Cain. Cain is watching all of this go down from the top of the hill. From where he was at, he could see his two groups that he had in place to move in on the Salem, and the Salem survivors. And from his point, he can see everything that's taking place. So as the first group is moving in on the survivors, what was supposed to be the first group is moving in on the survivors, Nemaya does a spell called the Mystic Barrier. And this uses natural energy to form a barrier around her as well as the survivors. And this blocks all of the arrows that are incoming at this time. Anything that was thrown at them, the Mystic Barrier blocks. And we find out that the Mystic Barrier is as strong as the willpower of the caster. So the stronger you are, the more willpower you have, the stronger your Mystic Barrier is. So at this time, Nemaya uses one of her other spells, which is called Kisanoni, talk through Icon telepathically and tell him to get ready to open the portal. She needs to do it at the right moment because she doesn't want anybody else to get through but the survivors. Which at that moment she tells Nikki, it's your turn. And now we get to see some of that strongest woman in the world stuff that we had heard about, because Nikki punches the ground with the might of Zeus, or whatever you want to call it, because she was hard enough. She hit the ground hard enough to make the ground cause a shock wave. And the shock wave basically pushed everybody in front of her back. So the entire army that was running at them, once she punched the ground, basically like a gamma shock wave just came out like an earth tidal wave and knocked out that group that was attacking it. So at this time, we switch back over to Genova, which now he can hear everything that's going on. So he says, oh, okay, it's time to get busy. So he starts using super speed to basically move through these 200 men. Everybody is getting one-shotted, and he's doing it all in a matter of 12 seconds. So Genova is basically able to take out about 150 men flat in about 10 seconds. And when he gets down to the last man, it's the first guy from before. He tells him that, you're weak, and this is a shame because you prey on the weak. And he really dislikes people like that. He hates people that use their power to oppress people weaker than them. And when the guy asks for mercy, he tells him, wait, don't kill me, show mercy. Genova asks him, how many people died for their lives before you killed them? And the guy gets quiet and he says, exactly what I thought. Should I show you the same mercy that you showed the people? And we don't get to see how this plays out because it switches over and we finally get to see the big bad of the Salem saga, which is Cain. But that was a good question. I mean, it was. Before we get to see the we finally get to see the big guy. We get to see Cain. And he's accompanied by a man with a hat on and with orange hair. And they're discussing the turn of events, and the man in the hat tells them, this is working out better than we thought. And whatever that meant, we're unclear because, they're just showing up. We don't get to see much from their conversation. But whatever their goal was, it now has changed due to the appearance of Nemaya. When Cain and this guy in the hat sees Nemaya, they say, oh, that's our next target. We need her. And at this moment, we're unclear of if they want to kidnap her or what they want to do with her. But it's very obvious that Nemaya's appearance to them is way more important than the deaths of all these people from Salem. And with that, yeah, that's the end. That's going to do it. And thank you if you stay here to the end. I want to, tell you thanks for watching. It means a lot. Like before, subscribe, comment. Even if you got a bad comment, let me know. All criticism is welcome. Good criticism, bad criticism, we like it all here. So, ladies, thugs, and gentlemen, until next time, remember, do you. Because that's the only way to do it. Peace.